make a start. Welcome to our, what was the original meeting for August, to deal with the planning applications that have come in. We take the agenda in order. First item is apologies for absence. So
just everybody
else is here. Excellent. Our members happy that we agree aids apologies. He's actually currently away, isn't he? All those in favour, please show. Okay, carried. Are there any declarations of interest on the applications before us tonight? Okay, I shall make my normal declaration of Somerset Council of the Planning Committee, which then takes us to the planning matters themselves. The first application is 072517 for conversion of existing outbuilding, Middle Street Farm, Middle Street. Who wants to introduce this one?
I'm happy.
Charlie,
I'll do it.
okay.
There's the location up there. That's where it's situated.
That's a horrible graphic.
I know. They're always good lines all over. I'm trying to get rid of them. I can't get rid of them.
Well, for those that may not know, if you walk down Middle Street and over the railway bridge, you see the large lake or pond that you see, and then a lovely big farmhouse which has been renovated, and at the back there is a U-shape, for want of a better word, of outbuildings. And this application is to convert one of those outbuildings into existing outbuildings, a former milking shed, to annex a home office, to annex and a home office. So in other words, it's providing probably a bit of accommodation, but essentially office accommodation by the sound of it. On the base of it, one would see no problem with this particular application, because it's development of, if you like, at the moment unused buildings for the benefit of the owner of the building, which is obviously going to make economic use of these old buildings. So, to all intents and purposes, the block plan remains the same, the elevations remain the same. All it is converting if you like, the inside of the structure, so there's no real impact or major structural changes, which on the face of it seems fair and reasonable to me. However, I've looked on the website and I see that three parties in particular have cast concerns about this development. First of all, the Environment Agency has said, in the absence of any acceptable flood risk assessment, we object to this application, and they've given the reasons below. And I assume that as councillors we've probably had a look at that letter as well. The Environmental Health Agency, or for Sedgemoor, Somerset County Council, Sedgemoor area, also point out that there is insufficient information on foul water drainage. The applicant has not provided sufficient information about how foul sewage from the proposed development is to be dealt with. Furthermore, the Axe Brew Internal Drainage Board have highlighted surface water discharge, which may well be a problem for this particular development. On principle, we would normally, I think, probably support an application such as this because it's quite simple. But in supporting that, probably we should take into considerations the concerns that have been raised regarding flood risk, foul water, and surface water drainage on behalf of these agencies. So I think that if we make any decision on this, we should make reference to that these should be considered on any future planning approval. I don't know if anybody wants to pass any comments.
Any other comments?
So just being clear, what you're proposing, Colin, is that we accept it in principle,
providing the three agencies concerned conditions are met.
I would, I think that's the right thing to do, because on a strict planning rules, there's no reason to object to this. But I think the development should take into considerations the concerns of the Environment Agency, Environmental Health, and AXPRO, the concerns they raise. So I don't feel that I can propose this. I think it should come from the council.
I'm prepared to propose it under those conditions.
I'll second it.
Okay. If there's no further comments, the recommendation is to recommend approval subject to those three issues being dealt with as part of the process. All those in favour of that, please show. Oh no, I'll abstain. And then it takes us to 072518, which is 4 outdoor buildings to cover existing flea yards and mug stores at Rookery Farm, Bold Road. Charlie, were you introducing this one?
I wasn't.
Okay.
David,
Okay,
I can if
okay,
you want.
David,
That's quite a good picture, thanks. Basically, the applicant put in for 4 barn extensions, really. It's to cover open yards where cattle are in the winter, and it's based on the government's latest and greatest scheme to try and stop dirty water and slurry entering the watercourses, which historically might have been a problem, and their grant funding. So the catchment sensitive farming officer has been out and recommended the farm these 4 buildings or extensions of existing buildings to sort of fulfill the policy and stop problems in the future, because they're clamping down quite strongly, as they should be, on this as a problem. So buildings 2, 3 and 4 you won't see from anywhere, and they're basically just bits of roof joined onto buildings. So the buildings will actually look exactly the same, just with 10 foot here, 20 foot there added on. And building number 1, which is next to Bowl Road, is a new building to cover a solid heap of muck to stop the water running out anywhere. So there isn't a lot to say. It's all pretty standard agricultural, and it's not really going to affect anyone. Really, it's doing what the government wants, and it's doing a good job, really. But anyone else got any comments?
Anyone else? In which case I'm looking for a recommendation.
I propose that we support this one.
Okay.
What grounds was for?
Good environmental practice. Is that a planning practice?
Yeah, environmental agricultural
Yeah.
practice, isn't it? So, and as you said, I think it's in line with
Yeah, in line with
government
government
policy.
policy or guidance.
Yeah. Okay. So we have the recommendation to support the application. All those in favour, please show. That's okay. Okay. That brings us to the end of the planning matters. So, any matters of report on the agenda for the 3rd of September?
No.
Andy?
No. Can I just say something?
Yeah, thank you. Oh,
On the audit, which is now completed, the external audit, it was a more complicated process than I was expecting, which I'm not entirely surprised about because of the sudden increase in our costs last year. But one of the things was nothing to do with that. They queried a policy which they themselves put in place and had changed, and we just adhered to the ones that they had in place previously. And I've subsequently been told I'm not the first person to catch this one. What it is, basically, we have an internal risk assessment document every year which we approve as a council. And what happened was that I always taken the view, and that was general rules, that doing it on the 31st of March was sufficient for the following year, because you're doing it slightly in advance of the following year. However, the rules are changed now, and it has to be done in the year which your audit applies. So in other words, it's got to be done no earlier than the 1st of April. Now, the fact we did ours on the 31st of March means that it technically wasn't valid. Now, I had quite a debate with them over this, and I said, look, because they wanted to put it on our external audit as a comment. I don't like having comments put on my external audit because, I'm meticulous about getting it right, and for something like that, it's very unfortunate. Their senior guy rang me and said, we can't do anything about it, it's government legislation, it's been changed, it has to go on your remarks on your external audit. So after a bit of a debacle, I did accept that it was going to have to be submitted with a comment. It doesn't affect the audit's passed, but it just means that next year, obviously I need to make sure that it complies with the legislative process. It's unbelievable. I got quite shirty with the guy actually and said, look, this is just jobs for the boys, it really is bureaucratic nonsense. I said, if you do a risk assessment for something, you do it before the event, not after. If I don't do it till October, it means we've had 6 months of the year already, so we could actually be in breach of the risk assessment in the first part of the year, but no, they weren't having any of it. So that just to highlight, if anybody does raise, because it's on the website, the actual conclusion of document.
Is the purpose of that then, Jonathan, you being an accountant, you know, is the purpose of this then that it's done after the 1st of April, just in case any unforeseen costs come in that are attributable to that year that haven't been accrued, or what
is the risk
I
assessment?
don't know what the purpose of it is.
Is it financial risk
The
assessment?
risk assessment, it's not financial, it's a general risk document for the council, which means that the council have considered all the various things that could happen to it as a council, not just necessarily financial, although mostly financial, but other things as well. The idea is that you look at that, and when you sign documents, the external audit document, when Bob signs it, it ticks this.
It means that you've taken all those.
It means you've taken account of all those things. And one of them says that you've considered an internal risk document in this current year. Well, the day before, as far as I'm concerned, is this current year, because you're doing it in advance of the actual. But you can't argue with these guys. I mean, they've got a whole list
Well,
of
unless
things.
their window is the 1st of April to the 3rd of April.
Yeah, quite. I mean, it's just ludicrous. But okay, I hold my hands up, and yes, it wasn't technically correct if you look at it in that light. But
I propose we fire Owen.
yes, I think it's a disciplinary matter for all this.
Put it in the stocks.
But yeah.
Can I just check that? So that was for last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, this year we would have done it at the end of this year for next year.
So what
so
I
we need to do something now.
Well, no, what we need to do is do something in September, October,
Okay, so we've gone
because they're halfway through the year, then we're covered either way. Then 6 months before or 6 months after, they can't possibly pick it up next year. So when it comes to the September meeting, I'll bring an internal risk document, or circulate it pre the meeting, so you can have a look through it and see what we're not doing that you think we should be doing, or something we need to change. I can't imagine what that would be, but it might be something somebody picks up, particularly new members of the council might pick it up. So that's all there is really, nothing else.
Okay,
All right.
thank you all very much. We'll close the meeting.